At John Cantner's dig, I learned that many archaeologists believe that the fall of Chaco Canyon around 1150 AD brought social chaos and violence to the Anasazi world. That's about the same time cannibalism peaked, and when Archie's Pueblo experienced its brutal massacre. Is this the answer to the Anasazi mystery of why they moved into the cliffs and then abandoned the Four Corners? Yet there's another side to this story. Indians to the south of the Four Corners claim to be descended from the Anasazi. The Pueblo, the Zuni, and the Hopi have their own oral histories about their ancient ancestors. I've spoken to one Hopi at Mesa Verde, Larissa Kumawana, who told me that the Anasazi moved to the cliffs to be closer to their water sources. Now I'm going to hear more of the Hopi side of the story.
I've come to southeastern Utah to the San Juan River to take a trip and take a look at their rock art. There's a few petroglyphs just downriver from us. And to see if I can get a feel for the culture, I've arranged for some Hopi elders to take a ride down the river with me. Hi. Hello. Are you Wilton?
Wilton Kuyabuhema and Dalton Taylor are elders from the Hopi Reservation in Arizona, south of the Four Corners. Dawa Taylor is Dalton's son.
Nice to meet you.
Native Americans who claim ancestral ties with the Anasazi are very hesitant to share their clan histories. It's private, and out of respect, I'm cautious with my questions.
Do you have a personal perspective on the Anasazi and what they did out here?
The Anasazi, I think there's one misunderstanding about the word Anasazi.
Yeah.
And in Hopi, we call them Hisatsino.
Hisatsino.
People of the past.
The term Anasazi isn't exactly popular among people who claim to be their descendants. That's because it's a Navajo word that means ancient enemies. Today, many prefer to use the term Ancestral Puebloans instead of Anasazi. We near a bend in the river. The elders are quiet, so I'm quiet too. But I'm hoping that the petroglyphs we'll soon see will be enough to set them talking. We pull up to take a look at some petroglyphs. Life-size figures pecked out by the ancient Anasazi 1,500 years ago. But they're just too old. The Hopi can't interpret them. Yet nearby are some other petroglyphs they find very familiar.
Looks like there's something right here.
Oh yeah, that's the spiral.
That's the spiral.
That's a migration story right there. Migration.
Hurry on, come on up.
So here, they occupy, it's the center where they occupied it, and when they go this way.
To the Hopi, the spiral means their people were once here, at this place in the Four Corners. To them, the Anasazi mystery is simply a story of migration. They abandoned the area because it was time for them to go, not because of social chaos or violence.
Looks like there's a head here.
It takes several hours, but I finally feel comfortable enough to ask Wilton the toughest question of all.
Wilton, were the Anasazi cannibals?
No, not really.
How do you know?
Because from the time when the migration started a long time ago, there is no enemies. Until the second group, like Navajos and these other Paiute, they're the ones that come in and doing the warfare with the Hopi people.
Because of this?
To the Hopi, there were no enemies before the Navajo.
It's not a new one.
And they didn't come to the Four Corners until long after the Anasazi were gone. But what if the enemy wasn't an invader?
And the other one is...
I remember what Vaughn said to me on that remote ledge in Cedar Mesa.
My opinion, there was all sorts of conflicts going on. Probably, my guess is, among people living here, not outside forces necessarily. Some people do think that there was an outside influence of other people coming in and putting pressure on these people. But my guess is it's probably people, you know, maybe in the next canyon over.
As I learned from Vaughn, Archie, and John Cantner, violence and probably warfare drove the Anasazi into the cliffs. But it's most likely that their enemy was none other than the Anasazi themselves. As for the second half of the mystery, the Hopi story of migration fits. The Anasazi didn't disappear. They simply left the Four Corners. The tree rings show that a great drought descended on this area in the late 13th century. Weary from decades of fighting, the survivors most likely did what their ancestors had done ages before. They migrated south to begin a new life. On our last stop, we visit the River House ruin. It was a sacred place for the ancient Anasazi. It still is for the Hopi today.
Be alert and wake up, people.
We make an offering of cornmeal. New evidence may one day settle the issue. But for now, archaeologists and modern Puebloans continue the debate, searching for clues left in the steep stone walls of America's Red Rock Canyons.